Finding a percent of a number. So what is 30% of 20? Or what is 1/5 or 20% of the student body, which is 200 students? What does that look like? All right, getting started right away. We're going to need to know percentages and putting them into decimals and into fractions, because that's going to be an important part into today's lesson. So 50% is equal to what decimal in what fraction? So first fraction, we should know that is equal to half, and decimal of 0.5. 10%, 1 out of 10. And if we say that number, this fraction, it's 1/10. 100%. You could say 1 over 1, 2 over 2, whatever it is, as long as it's on the top and bottom, they would be equal. And what decimal? Well, it's going to be 1.0. 20%, 20 out of 100. Remember that percentages are always out of 100. And if I were to reduce down, 1, 0, 1, 0, so it's 2/10. 29 1/100. I'm going to change it up here and type it. It's going to be 29 1/100, which is equal to 0.29. 12%, which is 12 out of 100, which is equal to 12/100, which is 0.12. That is going to be very important to know how you go from one thing to the next. Know that percents are always out of 100. And that whenever, if you're trying to get into decimal, think about tenths, th, and hundredths, and then you should be able to figure it out based off of its place value. All right, math message. It would cost $150,000 to rent a large amusement park for a private party. Would you rather have this price reduced by $35,000 or take a discounted rate of $25,000? This is a real life example of where you need to know percentages. And hopefully by the end of this lesson you'll be able to figure out this answer. Taking a look, there are 4 different ways that we can find percents of a number. You need to figure out whatever works best for you. So first, let's take a look at our question. The flu hit the Roosevelt School hard. 40% of the 480 students were absent at least one day last week. How many students were absent at least one day? So we're trying to figure out what is 40% of 480. Some of you are saying, well, I know that it's going to be close to 240. A lot of you can kind of figure that out because 40% is close to 50%, which is half, and half of 480 is 240. So that's a good way to get started. Now, the different ways that we can solve it are right here. The first one is going to be called the unit percent approach. And now I'm going to show you 4 different ways. Some of you are going to really understand one way and not have any idea about the other. So just go with which way works best for you. The unit percent approach would be 480 is 100%. Okay, so because there's 480 students total, or it's the whole thing. 1% of 480 would be 4.8 students. So if I had 40 students, or 40%, and multiply by 4.8, that would get us our answer of 192. So we're taking a look at how much does each percent equal out to, and then multiplying it by our percent. The next one is going to be taking a look at the 10% approach, where 480 is equal to 100%, or that whole thing once again. 10% of 480 is 48. And since 48 is 40 is excuse me, if since 48 is 10% and we need to get to 40%, so we just need to multiply it by, how do we go from 10 to 40? We multiplied it by 4. So we have to take 48 times 4 to get 192. The next way is to do the equivalent fraction approach. It is saying that 40%, okay, in finding the equivalent to it, 40% is equal to 2/5. So in order to do this one, you need to know which percent it is. So 40 of, it should be 480, is the same as 2/5 of 480. So 2/5 times 480 is equal to 192. Remember, whenever we see of always tells us that we need to multiply. So 2/5 of 480. The next way, the final way, is the way that I typically like to look at numbers. So I am going to say that, hey, we're looking at 40%, and I'm going to turn that into a decimal. So 0.40, so 40 hundredths. Okay, and so there we get from 40 hundredths to 40 hundredths, or you could say 4/10. They're the same. So now I'm going to do 4/10 times 480, and I'm going to do my lattice, and I'd find out that it is equal to 192. There are 4 approaches to finding out a percent of a number. For me, the first 2 are very difficult for me to understand, but the bottom 2 are a little bit more easy for me to see. You need to figure out which way works best for you, which works best, and really make sure that you write that down in your notes, and you can be using that to look back at. For your math journal today, you're going to be taking a look at some examples, and you have to figure out how many baskets did they make if they took so many shots. So you're going to have to really use your example to help you, as well as which one works best for you here. All right, and you're also going to be working on calculating a discount. Make sure that you're once again looking at the example. I'm finding that many of you are skipping examples. Examples are there to help you. Make sure that you look at them to get more information.